All right, my people. I'm only doing two videos, I think, today. All right. Uh, yeah, I don't like it when you kind of set your mind to do something and then it doesn't work out. Partially, I don't like working with people, dealing with people, or any of that shit. So, well, one thing, whatever. Let's start. Was supposed to go somewhere today, and then the people bailed. So here's my notes that I'm gonna go. Not everyone will buy a product, but everyone will hear a word. And my thought process with that, I remember I was thinking the difference between like what I'm trying to do and my brother is doing. My brother is basically, he has a company in Dubai and he's trying to establish it. Like anytime we hear company, right? But the reality is, like, there are small ass companies and there are like big ass companies, and the goal is to kind of like scale and to evolve and to like enter the world and be able to like assess your place, your position, and shift and move. It's really very much like society slash economy, sorry, is more of a game of like interaction. And the value that we discuss, we create value, and then basically the currency is the conversation that the values have with each other. Maybe this would be a good story if we go all the way back. But hear me out. Let's start with something. What he does is basically, let's say he works with everything finishing products when it comes to construction, buildings, houses, whatever, but finishing products, like everything from like tiles to like I think some plaster thing they put in between the walls or something like this. Like it's like it can get deep. Like there's a lot of products that he works with, but they're tangible products. And then anytime I look at it, I think about it, I kind of like consider how I used to work in something that's supposed to be tangible for a while, and then over the past 4 years, I shifted into the computer science slash software engineering. And the goal is to be a good programmer, to be able to build my platform, and then eventually get like some funding and move forward within that realm. But what I want to do is something that I see as like a bit too. Uh, I'm targeting a lot more people. Like normal businesses target niche markets. But for me, I'm targeting a lot more people. And it's simple. Like if you actually look at Apple, for example, anyone could buy an Apple, anyone could use that product. If you look at Facebook, anyone could use their Facebook. Amazon, the same, anyone could use Amazon. And my what I want to do is kind of like within that direction, with a direction where like I, I worked on it in a way where I took myself all the way to the end, what I wanted to accomplish, and I went back step by step in how I can accomplish it and what the selling product is. Now, the thought behind it is like what I'm selling is a concept. What I'm selling is a concept that people can build something on top of and then roll from there. And effectively, the best way we can look at it is we can look at, for example, I want to say, I don't know, like Twitter was just basically people speaking to each other, but then they started posting it online. And as they did that, they kind of evolved into it. Suddenly now, because I'm on LinkedIn, and the more I actually get involved with LinkedIn, the more I realize, like, you should seclude a part of your day to be active on these things, depending on what you want out of them. When it comes to Twitter, it's just stating your mind and kind of proving you exist online. When it comes to Facebook, it's kind of like sorting out certain things, advertising, marketing. When it comes to Amazon, it's shopping. When it comes to Instagram, it's like pictures and content. And when it comes to like uh, TikTok, is more entertainment. So all of these are kind of like concept technologies that were structured around certain things. And it's beautiful because like people kind of like built their lives around them. Like people, and the best word I would use is economic resource. What do I mean by economic resource? As in, it's a resource that brings money to the economy. Any company is technically an economic resource, but like companies like Facebook are a substantial resource. I met a guy that advertises that he's an agent for Facebook on Meta, sorry, Meta. And they have contracts that annually spend over $5 to $10 million just on advertising. So I can only imagine how much Facebook makes and how much like taxes they pay and how much of a resource that company is to the country where they exist in. So if they go to a different country, basically the other country wins and they win there. Like all of these things are like people get hired by Amazon like crazy for shipping and all kinds of stuff. So like in every country kind of like fights for them to exist there because they create job. It's a resource because they create value for people, which creates value for the economy, and then basically they feed into the whole like system loop. Fun stuff, but like but my quote was literally just like trying to separate between the difference of scalability when somebody is talking to you and when somebody is selling you a product, because either way this is a negotiation. Like when I'm speaking and you're listening to me, you kind of like, if you are listening to me, you're kind of listening to what I'm saying. But I'm giving you a product, you're also listening to what I'm saying, but it's more directed to the product. So like there's a big difference between like a concept and the actual physical product. The only difference is like the physical product kind of like maintains its shape form, whilst the concept could evolve any way it wants. Let's just say we have a lot more things to work with when it comes to the concept. We have a lot more space to like push for it and stuff like this. Why did it matter when I started thinking about it? And I think it's because I was thinking of my brother and I was talking to him, and a big part of how we engage, me and him together, was on the fact that he is creating a brand and he's trying to kind of like push for this and promote for this to the future, and to be able to kind of like grow, strategize, and like build on top of just what he wants to do and his business. He likes it. He likes talking to people. He likes engaging with people. He likes building a network. But back in the day, it was a lot easier for people to kind of look at you and trust you and want to work with you. Right now, you have to go through a lot of mess. You have to go through a lot of like nonsense because a lot of people, it's like all these softwares kind of like give you a voice, right? Like all these like Instagram, Facebook. But when you're online, what you're getting is literally like a persona that was created. Don't get me wrong, when you're meeting people professionally, that's a professional persona that you create. But the problem with it is like, the problem with online personas is they shift and they change. And most of the time, people kind of like cater without any like feedback, without them, they create a certain persona and they put it on into the public. And then you can't even trust it because what to do something, to build something online is way simpler. It's made that way, it's designed that way in order for people to kind of like link into it. But it's way simpler than actually having to create the persona live. Because if I'm going to look at you and I'm going to be some kind of way in front of you, for the sake of consistency, for you to trust me, you're going to have to kind of like, I'm going to have to like work on this being true. So even if I'm not really like the best of business people, if I create that persona of a good businessman, I have to fulfill my side and I have to pull through and I have to show you and consistently be like, I have to do good business with one person and another person and a third person and a fourth person. Online, it's a lot simpler to kind of like not be that way. Why? Because you can get away with a lot more stuff without being held accountable. Worst case scenario, you start a new account, you build a new persona, you create something different. So while I was working with him, I was thinking about the brand he's creating and about how what I am creating supports brands. And so my experience with him is supposed to be like how I could actually like point him in these directions where he could evolve, because most of my research is how people engage with each other these days and how people are pushing for things. And the way I saw it, because he actually is, even if I'm considered being a consultant to him, he's trying to sell products and represent himself in a better way. But the only thing I'm selling to him is the fact that my words mean something. And then from there, I started thinking of how that relates to actually my concept. Because here we are, man, like it's 200 plus videos right now, and all I do is talk, right? And in a way as well, like this persona, this talking, this consistency that I have, or this supposed to be creating some form of consistency for the people that are reading. So there are, it's funny because the whole, everything in life becomes a business structure when you're looking at interacting with other people. And everything with life becomes like a different analysis and a different exposure and a different like attempt in order for you to get better at something or just realize where you went wrong. If that's what if you actually have a sense of purpose, if you have like something that you're trying to reach. And the modern world has beautifully built the setup for people to be able to engage with each other and to be able to find different ways, services, tools in order for them to finish what they want to do. And those are the products that are created through the value. But I don't know if we overdid it, or I don't know if we just kind of like flooded the market with different things that like we've been trying our best to compete instead of retaining our own uniqueness. We've been trying our best to like prove something to the world instead of like focusing on what we want to do. And again, it's all about how you set up your goals. Because if your goal is just to make money, then you're going to look at everyone who's making money and you're going to see what they're doing. But if your goal is to finish what you're doing, then you're going to look at all the tools and services and use them in order to get what you're doing now. And I think that's where thinking in terms of a product, when it comes to me speaking, kind of creates a different shift in my head. Because, like, I was watching a YouTube video about a guy, and he was like, I am my own brand. And when it struck me a couple of months ago, it struck me as what I'm trying to do and how I'm representing myself. But it also struck me how other people don't notice that that's what they do and that's what they have to do. And the consistency has to be like when it comes, because branding is all about like creating the whole persona and the archetype that people can relate to, or at the very least, because like we're built through like our environment. There are always like the fun ones and the sad ones and the strong ones and the adventurous ones. And the goal is to be able to kind of like engage with people in a way where they can relate to, and then from there explore, and then they at the very least see some form of consistency. Well, other people don't actually notice that that's what they have to do, or some of them that succeed are doing it like without actually being methodical about it. And the difference between selling an actual product and having the product being sold because you yourself are selling yourself. So if every day you're working on yourself and the product sells itself, you don't have to do anything. And I think I learned that from my brother inadvertently while I'm trying to kind of help them be better or just have a better brand for himself. Okay, thank you.